So, what is your specific degree that you got in college or anything?
So I'm into Michigan State. I graduated December 2014 with a packaging engineering degree.
Okay. And what training did you get for the job you are currently at?
Well, there's a lot of stuff in your classes that you'll do that apply to the job that you do, especially in terms of engineering testing and learning the materials. But the training that I got before my full-time job was I had two co-ops, which are like 6-month internships. So the first one I did was in the medical device field, which is why the job I do now is medical devices. And the second one was in the automotive industry, dealing with engine cooling modules and radiators and stuff like that.
All right. Okay. So, you might have just answered this, but could you please describe your engineering field?
Basically, packaging is something that a lot of people probably don't hear of, but it's basic, everyday things that are packaging. Like, for example, if you go to the store and you see 6 bottles of Coke wrapped up in some plastic, that's packaging. Anything to get a product from point A to point B, safe and secure to the customer's hands, whoever it is packaging. For what I do, medical packaging, I deal with small parts, but we make high volumes of them, so we have syringes. Mm-hmm. So we may have a lot of syringes, we put them in a blister. But in the medical field, you have to have the sterile product to go into the hospital or to whoever it's going. So we'll make a packaging drawing or spec. We put the product in a form-fill seal machine. We may use paper Tyvek for a top web, some sort of plastic for the bottom web, sterilize it, put it in a truck to go to wherever it's supposed to go to after palletizing it. And then just planning all that out and working with supply chain or working with the schedulers to know how much product we need. So we might put, let's say you only make 100 parts of one thing and you make 500,000 parts of another. If it's 100 parts, you're not going to use a line for that. I feel like I'm overdoing the question, but that's just an example of basically packaging engineering is getting something from point A to point B. The biggest part of the industry is alcohol. So beer bottles, wine bottles, whether it's plastic, glass. I know you even have nowadays there's have you seen the water in a box or water that's packaging. So instead of putting in a plastic bottle, they used marketing, put it in a carton and sell it that way. So that way it's quote unquote eco-friendly. It's better, it's better than plastic. All this and that. So it's a lot of marketing. It's a lot of engineering. It's a combination of a lot of things.
Okay. Sorry. So, what is your current job title?
I'm an associate or junior packaging engineer. I just graduated, so typically I think for most engineering fields, you'll be a junior and associate engineer once you graduate after you had a couple of co-ops. Then you'll go to, for example, packaging engineer 1, packaging engineer 2, senior packaging engineer, principal packaging engineer, I believe is the highest title. And that's for most engineer jobs is the principal engineer. But I think that's you've been in the field for 10, 20 years or something like that.
Are you planning on being in the field for 10, 20 years?
We'll see. Still young, still in the game, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. Can you please describe your particular job and duties?
So I guess going back to what I was saying before, one of the things, I'll just go by some of the projects I do in minor detail. So as a packaging engineer, I have to, at a medical device company, once again, different fields of packaging may require different things, but for what I do, I help bring in machinery, we do things called an IQ, a OQ, a PQ, also a FAT, SAT. So if I'm about to buy a machine, I have to fill out a form called like a URS, which are the requirements we need for this machine, how we need it to work, and then once we fill that out, send it to our supplier. They give us the quote of the machine for all the features that we need. We issue a PO, which is a purchase order, so it gets bought, which, you have to have a certain amount of time for that lead time, so they'll be making the machine from scratch, unless you buy a used machine. But for the most part, in the medical industry, depending on your scenario, you typically buy new. But so we'll buy this new machine, they'll make it. Once they finish making it, I'll go over, perform an FAT, which is a factory acceptance test, to make sure that the machine does everything they said it would do at their plant. Then the machine will get sent over to our plant, and you do a SAT, which is site acceptance test, which means on our site, this machine works, it does everything it's supposed to do, it functions properly. You and whoever your supplier that machine is, you guys will go over all the different specs in the machine, make sure everything works, use the materials you have in your company to make sure that they work on the machine you bought. And then in the med field, there's a lot of testing. So we'll test, we'll make sure that the product fits within the packaging properly, because I work a lot of form field seal machines, for example, so it'll form. There will be operators on the line that sit across each other. They'll put the part in. They do that really quickly. And then it'll seal up the packaging, cut it into the pieces. It'll go outside of the clean room, and they'll put it in boxes. The clean room in the medical field is basically a spot where you're not going to have a lot of particulate. Everybody's garbed up. Like, you wear, like the hair nets you see at the cafeteria, ladies. And then, as a guy, you also wear, like, the beard net. You have to wash your hands. It's very highly regulated industry. That's one of the things, is bringing machinery. Another thing is, let's say in the field, packaging was breached, so it didn't have complete packaging integrity, which means that it's safe and it's sterile to be used. If that's the case, we have to go find out why it happened and do a root cause analysis, saying, okay, so it happened on this machine. Why? Look at all the old setup sheets. Say, okay, well, on the setup sheet it says the machine overshot temperature, so maybe that's it. Or maybe there was a period of time where there was something wrong with the sealing, and because of that, there was a breach in the packaging. So you just had to figure out why you had a problem, explain it, make corrective actions, and also take actions to make sure it doesn't happen again in the future. That's another thing. There's another one is just testing, making sure everything we do says exactly what we're going to do. So just looking over the machinery, validating new machinery. Finding cost savings is huge in the real world. That's the one thing they don't teach in classes about cost savings. Basically, as an engineer, it's your job to cut costs, because in the business you have the sales guys, they make the money because they sell product to people. And then as an engineer, it's your job to find ways to make the process of what you do a lot more cost efficient. So that way, that's how engineers contribute, or at least that's how I contribute to my company. You also have R&D engineers who will design and make things of that nature, but I more so deal with, finding ways to cut costs and things like that. Anything else? There's other stuff too, but I think that's the most of it.
Okay. So what is your average work schedule like?
It depends. Typically, it's just an 8-hour work day, 5 days a week. But, sometimes if you're bringing a project or there's a certain deadline you have to hit, you may have to stay and do, I'm not going to call it overtime because I'm salaried, but you work, there's been times where I've worked like 70, 80 hours to make sure a machine got validated or the proper testing needed to be done. It depends. But for the most part, it's just the 8-hour days.
So, for, the projects you have, all the things that you have to package, do they, come in with a specific, deadline you have to have them done by?
Well, me or typically, because I'm more of a subject matter expert, but I'll work with a project engineer, and they're going to be the ones to schedule things of that nature. And I'll tell them, okay, well, this is the amount of time we'll need to do testing for here. So you plan that from the very beginning of the project with a team of people. Because that's the other thing about engineering is you have to know how to work with people. That's a big part of my job too, because I'll need to work with the quality people to make sure we have a certain sample size that fits what we need. I'll have to work with regulatory to make sure we have the proper testing done. So if the FDA or the TUV, which are regulatory agencies, come in, we have documents to show that we're good. And marketing from time to time, marketing lets us know, because when you're doing engineering stuff too, you're trying to do stuff that sells or that helps your sales team. That's where marketing comes in. They see what's on the field, what the trends are, what people like. They'll come back to us, ask if we can do it, and we'll try it out. So it's a lot of cross-functional teamwork that goes on.
All right. So, starting with high school, could you please describe your educational background chronologically?
High school I just took classes. I took a couple AP classes here and there, but I never actually took, like I was in advanced classes, but I never actually took like engineering classes or packaging engineering classes, because when I first graduated, I wanted to either go into engineering, psychology, or business. Then when I got to college, I was, what did I start with? I think mechanical engineering. And then afterwards, I discovered packaging, which had a lot more business aspect to it. So I went to that. It was either between packaging or what is that called? I think it's like an applied engineers, which is like you'd be like a salesperson that has the technical background of an engineer. So then I went to packaging, and then, like I said, the biggest thing was getting the co-ops to see how a business works, to see that, like, school taught me, gave me a foundation. For example, taught me, like, the sterility processes in the medical packaging world. What else? Like, basically boxes that I need to know about, different kinds of boxes that work in the different flutes. Like the material properties of glass, plastic, paper, all that kind of stuff. But when you get to the real world, then you notice, okay, well, you have suppliers that make certain things. And the most important thing about a company is you're in business to make money. So the material selection you may have a broad material selection, but the company may only have the budget for this kind. So that's the kind you're going to use, because you have suppliers you have relationships with and contracts with that make it so that and the stuff the buyer does. That's like what Dad does. So it's just like it's a lot of learning. You're going to learn a lot more in the field, because college gave me the foundational knowledge, but the field actually gave me the business knowledge. You need to be well aware of the business knowledge. Because there's a lot of great ideas in theory that you're going to learn in college that won't work for the business you work at. So that's why I think it's important to have a balance of both. They're trying to get an internship. That's why internships are important. But outside of that, I wouldn't say there's anything too special. Other things, like at least work-related that I do that helps me out was I went to a packaging expo, which is basically like a spot where you go to network with other engineers. You go have these seminars all day where you learn about the different standards and different ways of testing and things like that everybody else is doing to help you out and to take that information and make your company better. Stuff like that. And then there's also other things like, for me, it's called Certified Packaging Professional. I've been studying for this. It's like a certification. A lot of different industries have it. I know like accountants have it, other engineers have it, where you go take a test and you become certified, and then every year or so you take a test until like 5 years later, in which you have since you've been in the industry for that long, you're just a certified engineer for, I won't say forever, but forever.
Okay. Okay. If you had to do it over related to your career education, would you do anything different?
Let me think about that. Yes and no. Well, knowing the knowledge that I know, if I could go back in time to take over my body, I would have studied to make new technology within school to be an entrepreneur by the time I graduated school, if that makes sense. That's the different thing I would have done, is did more design work, did more learning, took more advantages of the free. It's not free, actually. College costs a lot of money, a lot of student loans, or scholarships, or whatever, however you do it. But I would have learned more about the business side of things, where I had trademarks, copyrights, building a business, starting up my own thing, and saving up my money to further that. But at the same time, as an engineer, you do need that experience. So that's why I said I wouldn't, because you need some sort of work experience to know how everything works, even if you do make the latest and greatest technology. But yeah, that'd be the only thing. But outside of that, no. Because it's everything you do is like a learning process. I wouldn't know the things that I know now if it wasn't for the path that I took. So that's when I say no. But yeah, if I could go back and take over my body, knowing the things I know now, which would be cheating, of course, I would try to be more of an entrepreneur with what I do right now.
Okay.
It's so weird talking on the Skype, because it's so weird to look at the camera when you don't have it's so weird.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What advice would you give to me as someone interested in pursuing a career path similar to yours?
There's a lot. Basically, because especially since you're still in high school, make sure you kill your ACT, SATs. I don't know if you have to do one or the other or both. I think I just had to do ACT. But make sure you do great on both. Get scholarship money. That's huge. And know that the world is your playground. Because I did the comfortable thing. I love my college and everything, my alma mater. I love Michigan State. I always rep green and white. But, also not being afraid to try out different colleges in different states. Like Vizia, for example, went to Dartmouth. They're if you find out you want to be a civil engineer, finding the best civil engineering program at whatever college that is and trying to go for that. Now, you also have to take into account you want to go to college in a location that you like. So let's say, for example, you don't like nature and woodsy areas. You're not going to go to a city where that's all you're going to see. If you like a big city area, you might be more bound to go check that out. Just kind of go to different colleges, tour around. Don't limit yourself while trying to get in. And then when you get in college, knowing what you want to do is very important. And it's okay to change what you want to do. Like, let's say you do civil engineering route right now, but then eventually you study or you look at the mechanical, computer science, or the other types of engineering and say, you know what, I want to try that one out. That's okay. Your freshman, sophomore years, you can play around and juggle that. Once you find out what you want to do, get hardcore to it, get to know the professors. So that way, if you have any letter of recommendation or anything of that nature, you can have it. You really play around with the programs you're going to have. So let's say get really good at presentations. Get really good at presentations. Get really good at writing reports, especially technical reports. Although a lot of people, engineers like the math and they don't really like English, English is very important. Having a good vocabulary is very important. And you also need to know not only how to speak your technical language, but how to speak your technical language to the salespeople who don't have that background. So you have to be able to dumb down the things that you know as well. The communication is huge. making great friendships with people in and out of your major, building relationships with you're going to meet a lot of amazing people in college, get involved with activities that aren't in your major. Like, something that helped me get my first job, for example, I was in breakdance club. I was the president. That, honestly, that got me my first co-op.
Wow, really?
Because it makes you stand out, shows leadership. Now, you also want to do things within your major, like you'll have different events you can go to within your major, but also being unique and doing stuff that's fun to you is very important, because when you're in school, you need to find something that helps you keep your sanity, because, when you're taking Calc 2, or 3 or 4, whatever you're taking, you're going to have classes that make you go crazy, so you need something to de-stress and to meet people with. That's very important. Utilizing the software that's very common in your field. So let's say for me, I use like CAPE, which is a paletting program. So studying your AutoCAD so you can design things off there as quickly as possible. Learning about all the different materials that you can use and why you use them. Always asking questions to know why something's done a certain way so you can understand, have a lot more understanding. And I guess going back to the thing I said before with me, it's always great to go work at companies and, have a career, especially when you're first starting out, so you learn the rules and regulations of what you're doing. But also don't be afraid to have an entrepreneurial mindset. If you have a great idea and design you think can help change or shape the world, pursue it, make sure you own all the stuff to it, and then that way you can be a millionaire by the time you graduate college,
Great.
Because as an engineer, the salary is great and everything, but when you're an entrepreneur, that breaks boundaries for you. Like, as an engineer, you'll probably make 6 figures, like 150,000, at your senior levels, but to make the millions and millions of dollars, you have to invest or to own your own engineering business. And like I said, you may find out that you want to do it, but you have to work a couple jobs to get there.
Yeah.
So just learning all the software that's related to your industry, learning all the materials that are used, the different business, like knowing the actual industry, so knowing what businesses you have. Like, for example, in the medical field, I'm at B-Braun, but we also have, there's also Boston Scientific. I work there. That was my co-op. Then you have, Johnson & Johnson, the lotions and stuff.
Yeah.
They make medical devices. They also do things with food. They do a lot of things that you wouldn't know about unless you actually get to know the businesses in the industry, knowing who the CEOs are, knowing how they started, knowing how many people work at the company. Like, having that kind of knowledge of actually knowing all the businesses that do what you want to do will put you that much further ahead of your peers. Because not everybody knows the business side of everything, and that's very important. Because at the end of the day, you're in business to make money. It doesn't matter what you do within the business. It's just, as an engineer, you're either going to be creating with the R&D team, or you're going to be sustaining and making improvements to what you already have. And that's about it. And the biggest thing, like I said, have fun. If you're not having fun, then there's something wrong. Now, you're not always going to have fun. It's going to the road gets a little dark. It gets hard, but just have fun and work hard and, just keep doing what you're doing and you'll get there.
All right. Thank you. Well, I think that is all the questions I do have.